At 15 years old, after watching my father smash up the house, I told myself, if alcohol ever becomes a problem, I'm just going to quit. And that's why I don't drink anymore, because it did. Now, this video isn't about having to quit alcohol. It's about recognizing your relationship with it and being honest within that relationship. See, I chose very consciously, once I left home, to not bring up my past and not let people know about my past because I didn't want them to feel sorry for the experiences that I had. But that meant that I carried on with a positive outlook, but I deeply suppressed what was actually happening from within. Alcohol was a part of my life, very social, very active, and just a part of all the settings in which I operated in. I didn't realize at the time, but I was using alcohol to celebrate and to feel those exciting feelings as much as I was to using it to avoid ever feeling sad. Eventually, this ended up catching up with me in the way that the relationships I try to have felt deeply uncomfortable. I felt that every time I tried to get close to somebody, there was this unresolved feeling within myself that was limiting that. It meant that when anything came up within certain relationships, I would shut down because I hadn't actually taken the time to sit with those feelings or those emotions, because alcohol was the thing that always took me away and I always used to avoid that discomfort. It wasn't until later on where I was living overseas and a friend had said to me and questioned my relationship with alcohol, noticing the amount that I was drinking. At this point in time, I just reflected back, pushing it onto the environments I grew up in and the friends that I grew up with. But the reality was I was starting to feel it too. I was starting to notice a big shift and things weren't feeling right. It was like that feeling of overstaying your welcome somewhere and realizing you should have left a while ago. It was that feeling of alcohol not giving the same buzz as what it used to. And the relationship was becoming more of a dependent nature than just a simple social release. And it wasn't until I went up to Scotland, where my father was from, that I actually saw how ingrained alcohol was within my family. Now I'm talking hereditary. So anybody who has grown up with an alcoholic parent is 4 times more likely to drink or become an alcoholic themselves. And so when I saw that writing on the wall, I couldn't unsee it. And I knew that it was a choice that I had to make. I didn't make that choice straight away, but I started intermittently trying to understand my relationship with it. So I would stop, have a break for months. And that was easy enough to do. But then whenever I drank again, it was like I undid all of the hard work. And the final catalyst for me was when I was in a relationship. I was married, I was living overseas, and I just could not communicate the way that I wanted to. Not only I couldn't communicate, I didn't know how to communicate. I didn't have the tools to be able to articulate myself because all of this pain, anger, frustration, I'd never ever sat with. And of course, relationships are mirrors. The person in front of you is just showcasing what's happening from within. And I'd use alcohol as a way of connection, a way of disconnection, a way of avoidance, a way of just feeling and connecting to whatever it was that I could connect with. But when all of that is stripped away and you're standing there in your rawest form in a relationship in front of the mirror, it's deeply confronting, particularly as a man and particularly when you don't have the tools or availability to be able to articulate that feeling or articulate what is actually happening. For me, the shutdown was something that I just couldn't manage. And I knew once I left, I needed to get help, not only with my communication and the sustainability and longevity of my emotional well-being, but also to my relationship with alcohol and what that actually meant. And when I made that decision that I was so much better off without alcohol than with it, then it was clear and I could step into that. But it was only through really examining my relationship and having that perspective of evidence of life without it and evidence with life with it. And for me, that was one of the most freeing things that I've ever done, is making that decision. I'm 7 years alcohol free, and not because somebody told me to quit, but because I was seeing how it was affecting my life and I wanted to do something about it. And that's all this is. There's an opportunity for anybody out there to do the same.